Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025 legacy sequel to the 1997 original. And here we have Jennifer Caton Robinson, who wrote and directed this film, who previously worked on films like Do Revenge and co-wrote Thor Love and Thunder. And here we have this legacy sequel where it has basically the same kind of setup of the original film, where a group of friends are caught up in the unfortunate death of somebody and then cover it up, and then somebody's like, I know what you did last summer, and then they have to loop in some of the legacy characters as we get Jennifer Love Hewitt's Julie James and Freddie Prinze Jr.'s Ray Bronson back, and some interesting other surprises as well, but I won't talk about that. But this film is I see what they're trying to do here, and obviously, Scream got its legacy sequel, so now the film that was rip-off of Scream has to rip off that Scream and has to get its legacy sequel. The original really works because it has, that 90s feel to it. This is very glossy, very sheen kind of look to it, except there's sequences in here where this film just looks really grim and ugly looking out of nowhere, where some of them are just so bright and shiny. It's such a weird contrast, and there's certainly editing moments that feel very clunky and awkward that kind of mess up a couple of key scenes as well. And you have some inspired camera shots, those Dutch angles, but it doesn't feel fresh or interesting. This film doesn't feel very well put together from a technical standpoint. And even the music just feels like noise a lot of the time. They lean too heavily into very obnoxious jump scares and auditory jump scares. I will admit, how some of these bodies get discovered and their setup are pretty gruesome. And you know what? The fisherman serial killer with the whole hook and the harpoon gun and the big boots and everything, it still really works. It looks really cool. There's a lot of logic gaps here in terms of as you realize what's really going on. The story, I feel like they really... Either you're going to be why was this legacy character in this, or why could they possibly ruin this character for us kind of feel to this film, which is very interesting that they chose those two routes with some of the characters involved in this film that are legacy characters from the previous films. And the new crew, there's a lot of will they, won't they kind of relationship stuff and about friendship, and it dabbles, but it doesn't have anything particularly interesting to say. And you have scenes that are thrilling and some interesting set pieces that felt inspired. But then you have others where it just feels like so much of this film is been there, done that. And even the big twist of what's really going on, they start really heavy-handedly put lame shading things here and there, and you're just okay, I'll see where this goes. In the context of the movie, a lot of the motivations and what's really going on here makes a lot of sense, but it just doesn't really feel like it hits. And this film is also almost 2 hours and takes almost 45 minutes for things to really get going, and this film could have been leaner, meaner, and probably would have been more fun that way. You still have some fun. They really lean into that Gen Z humor for sure and got quite a few laughs out of it. Especially Danica, the hot girl, played by Madeline Klein. She has a lot of laughs that you get out of her performance that is so perfectly exactly what it needs to be. And then Chase Sui Wonders, who's Ava, who's really our protagonist. I appreciated her performance, but a lot of the other young actors here feel very flat or awkward and weird. And it's just, there's not a whole lot of life to these characters. And this film is fun. And it has its moments. And if you're really into slasher flicks, it has all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is a pretty lackluster, uninspired Legacy sequel that still obnoxiously sets up a sequel to the Legacy sequel, just like Scream wound up having, but they didn't have to obnoxiously set it up. But here, it's just like, wow, and leaning into more Legacy characters. And will this get a sequel? Maybe. Will we get 2027's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer? We'll have to find out. But those are my thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.